Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you guys for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. This is a definitely a tough video to do. I always tell you guys that the toughest videos to do are after losses. And, I don't think that the game is done yet. Iowa versus Penn State. Of course, this is the game preview, Iowa versus, or game post game. Can't even get my thoughts together. This is the post game show of Iowa versus Penn State. And of course, Iowa got absolutely crushed. There is no other way to put it. They got shellacked. And it really, comes down here. I want to get this shared out a little bit. If you guys are in here, go ahead and like the video. At the very least, help your boy out. If there's one win we get tonight, it's for this game or for this video. This loss, guys, it's very, very simple. What this loss comes down to. You guys know what I'm going to go hard on. And I cannot wait to do it because I am tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the media, the Iowa media, and certain fans letting this go and letting this kind of happen and occur and act like those of us who call it out are bad Iowa Hawkeye fans. I'm tired of it because we will stay in this situation as Iowa fans as long as we don't call it out. And I'm tired of it. And what I'm talking about, of course, is this kind of perennial year in, year out Iowa being the best of the average teams. Iowa, my dad used to have a saying because he runs marathon. I mean, he still uses the saying. He runs marathons and shit like that. And when people would ask him, whether he's a good runner and things like that, he would always say, he's the best of the, of the bad runners, the best of the below average runners. And that's kind of where Iowa has been at the last 3 years. They did have a situation there where they won the 9 games, the 10 games, but even then they're kind of in this realm of being somewhere between slightly above average and above average, but not great, not excellent, not elite as a program. And the reason that is because of this atrocious offense. That is exactly why it is what it is. And, what is there to say on that? This is where we're at. Brian Ferentz has, been given all of this leeway by Kirk Ferentz. And it's really sad. I don't necessarily feel bad for Kirk Ferentz about this because in the end, he's the one who makes the call. But Kirk Ferentz could have like a really, really stellar last couple, like back half of his career. But he is unwilling to move off of his son. And we continue to be in this place where Iowa, where as fans, we cheer for Iowa having an oddly sufficient game offensively against Western Michigan. And then when they have a terrible atrocious, god-awful game against Penn State in which they get shellacked because the offense cannot move the ball 2 inches. Making stupid plays, fumbling the ball you are on the doorstep. Elite teams put it in the end zone. They get it in there and it's done. They score, they shove it down the other team's throat and it's over. I remember, being a former Division I college water polo player, that was like when a team was a player down or something like that. That is when that's like the times we practiced the most, because the coach, it was our coach's philosophy to make the other team pay for making a mistake and allowing us to get that far down offensively and get that close to the doorstep. You have to punch it in. And this is not like surprising, guys. This just isn't. The first 2 games of the season against Iowa State, who lost to Ohio, Iowa made that game closer than it should have been because the offense, yet again, struggled to move the football. Game 1 against a very mediocre team, same thing. I can't even remember who Iowa played game 1 at this point. Who did Iowa play game 1? I can't even remember, guys. I'm so when games like this happen, I wish I was not as adamant of an Iowa Hawkeye fan as I am, because it is brutal. And I know it's silly. I know it's ridiculous. I'm not on the team. I'm not the one making the calls. I'm not, but it's just, it's so deflating. It is so deflating. So I'm going to share the screen here. So you guys can see the stats that I'm looking at. Cade McNamara was 5 of 14 for 42 yards. Guys, through the first 4 games of the season, and I said this in my game preview, Cade McNamara has not come close to the preseason expectations. He has not even touched the preseason expectations. Now, how much is it on him and how much of it is it Brian Ferentz? I mean, it's hard to really say when we don't get that aerial view of each offensive snap. We don't see which receivers are missed or not missed. We don't see, who missed their block downfield and who is running good routes, who's not running good routes. We don't really see that. I think the answer is probably 50-50. But that is just, it's not a good stat line, guys. I mean, that is just not going to cut it. You're on the road against Penn State, I have them as the number 2 team in the Big Ten. I think that they're better than Michigan this year. You're not going to beat them on the road when your starting quarterback can barely complete 10 passes. You're not going to win. You're just not. Kamari Moulton, 6 carries for a measly 18 yards. Eric All, Eric All, after his fumble, was totally out of the game. He was done. He was gone. He was out. He was done after his fumble. And yeah, it was a huge turnover. And I, on the Facebook page, on the Facebook group, 247hawkeye.com, if you guys aren't in that Facebook group, I'd hop in there. On the game thread, I said that was going to be a massive turnover for Iowa. And it was, because Iowa had a chance to dictate the flow of the game and put Penn State on their back heels. But instead, Penn State took the momentum. And it was just a huge gut punch. And what happens in games like these is the defense can only do so much. And then they just get exhausted. We saw it last year against Michigan. We saw it's just, you can only do so much bending without breaking, and without the dam, some water getting through the dam. Now, the defense, though, I will say that the defense is not as good as last year's at this point. Last year's defense was an all-time great defense. This Iowa defense is really good. It's still really good. Okay. It's still elite. I'd still categorize it as elite, but this Iowa defense struggles to generate pressure. They really do miss Noah Shannon up the middle, just clogging it up and taking up space. You know, when you're a physical defense like Iowa, you need that 6 foot, 310-pound bowling ball that's just very, and has that really good center of gravity, even though he's 300 plus pounds. They do miss him. So Iowa's defense, but the good news is I do think that the defense has the talent with Cooper DeJean. Jamari Harris is still getting back from his injury. He's getting back into the swing of things. Xavier Wanpa has incredibly high upside. Nick Jackson is really coming into form. Jay Higgins. I think Iowa needs to find a guy to give Evans, the starting defensive end. Evans is too small. He can only play a certain amount of snaps each game. Joe Evans is not a guy who's going to play 90% of the snaps. He's just not big enough. Iowa needs to find, and really, if you have a guy like Joe Evans playing that many snaps, it takes away from what he's really good at, which is his speed, because he's using so much energy and exerting so much energy doing all the other stuff. Iowa needs to find a sufficient guy behind him that can give him some breathing, some time to breathe, because him playing all these snaps, he definitely got work tonight against Penn State. Connor Colby got work tonight. Mason Richmond the whole offensive line really got work tonight. I mean, where do you want me to start, guys? Let's look at the team stats. Iowa, look at this, guys. This is crazy. I cannot even believe this. Iowa did not even have 100 yards of total offense. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of Iowa fans who say, well, but Penn State's defense is incredibly good. It's just, this is not on Iowa's offense. This is about how good Penn State's defense is. Well, okay, but still, guys, not even 100 total yards. Not even 100 total yards. That's crazy. And Penn State was able to have almost nearly 400 yards against Iowa's really good defense. And this is what I'm talking about the difference between being Penn State and an elite top 10 caliber team or top 15 caliber team, and this perennial like 20 to 35 type team, which Iowa is, where it can go either way between being an 8 and maybe, if you're lucky, a 10-win team. 56 passing yards, 23 rushing yards, 2.4 yards per play, 4 first downs compared to Penn State 29. Iowa was 1 of 9 on third downs. And each third down, guys, mind you, it wasn't just that Iowa was 1 of 9. It was each third down was really, really bad. Like, where the quarterback ends up in the dirt, Connor Colby gets worked, and you may as well have just given the ball to Penn State and said, we're not going to even run this offensive play. We're done. I guys, I honestly, I am concerned about Cade McNamara. I am starting to question whether he is actually the guy for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I really am. And you guys know that I was a big Joey Labus guy. I liked what he was able to do against Kentucky. And I'm not totally willing to move off Cade McNamara yet, but his results have not been good. They just haven't. And, you know, in the past, Iowa was much more willing to look at their other quarterbacks and kind of create this competition where the best guy wins out. And, you know, with Spencer Petras and, you know, we've kind of just seen this situation where Iowa whoever the guy is at the beginning of the year, that's who it is, no matter what. I don't know. I mean, at this point, you know, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater, but Cade McNamara's stats are what they are, and they are not good right now. He is currently a bottom quarter quarterback. I mean, his stats are like in the 100s. They're not good. Iowa had 4 fumbles lost and only had the ball for 14 minutes. This is depressing, guys. This is so bad. All right, guys, I'm going to read the comments now. There's only so much I can beat up on Iowa and their offense. You guys know exactly what it is. I'm done with Brian Ferentz. I am not going to allow other Iowa fans and the Iowa media to get me back on the Brian Ferentz. I'm done. He is what he is. His offenses are not prepared. They're not ready for big games like this. We saw it last year against Ohio State. We saw it last year against Michigan. We saw it in the Big Ten championship game. He's just not the answer at offensive coordinator. He's just not. These offenses are ugly to watch. If Iowa is not running the football well, they struggle to get to 20 points because their offense is so boring and predictable and like way back in retro land. It's now I'm not against, I'm not saying that Iowa can't be successful with a normal traditional offense, but it's like, come on, like whatever happened to the Wildcat? Whatever happened to some easy chunk yardage like slants and curls and bubble screens? And, Iowa kept trying to do these dump passes, but it's like, how can you do these dump passes when your offensive line is getting worked? That's not the way to go. You need to get it on the outside. You need to get it away from your offensive line. I mean, Iowa was lucky that more of those passes weren't intercepted. Tat Loney, Cade is a bum. Minnesota PTSD. Wow. I got paid tonight. Well, I'm I'm happy that somebody won tonight. I really am. Jay, so Iowa has some things they need to work on. Absolutely. Patrick Lane, retracted message. Michael Morin, pathetic coaching tonight from everyone on staff. They looked unprepared in all 3 areas. I couldn't agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. This was a total bed, SHITTING. It's YouTube. I don't want to swear, but and Iowa doesn't deserve my swearing. They don't. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Jay, in all fairness, Iowa almost broke 100 yards on offense. That's pretty good. I hope he's joking. Michael Morin, Drew Allard didn't throw the ball the length of his tonight, and yet Iowa constantly was playing 5 to 10 yards off. True. And this is what we see. This is the one drawback to it. Well, it's 2 things. One, It has to do with the lack of pressure Iowa is able to create, which is why the only way tonight that they were able to create any sort of pressure is through these blitzing schemes and sending an extra guy, because they don't have Deontay Craig is just not making it happen. I think a lot of the sacks he got from last year was due to the attention Lucas Van Ness got. Iowa just does not have that elite pass rusher that can go and get to the quarterback and make the quarterback feel pressured. That's one. And let's see here. I don't even know where I was going with that. It's time for Kirk to go. Barnett has done a poor job with the offensive line. I want to go back. What was the thing? Playing 5 to 10 yards off. It's also that Phil Parker has this bend, don't break philosophy, which normally works, but he also sometimes does not respect the athleticism of his defense. And I don't understand that, because there's this kind of like understanding that Iowa is not athletic. I don't get that. Every time Iowa their players go to the combine, even if it's a guy that doesn't get drafted, they test extremely well. I don't understand this kind of disrespect of your own team's athleticism. I don't understand that. I mean, Cooper DeJean and Xavier Wanpa are two of the most athletic guys you'll find in the Big Ten. It's time for Kirk to go. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, Brian, definitely, I'm done with him. Folsom Flash, Barnett has done a poor job with the O-line. Drew Kirk's nepotism, fired on the tarmac. Michael Moore, offense was revolving in every convincible way. Or revolting, sorry. Absolutely. Special teams played stupid. Beth Gates, time to be the GOAT AD. Yeah, I have little hope with her either. There's been some decent things she's done. I don't want to go too far in that. I do like that she wants to work with the Swarm Collective. I do like that. But, I think we'll see a lot of what we've seen in the past. And it does look that she's giving some pushback to the power Kirk Ferentz has on the athletic department. So, by the way, guys, just in case there's any Penn State fans in here, Penn State is a great team. They totally kicked our asses tonight. And, what can I say? I mean, I did predict Penn State to win this game. What I saw from Iowa in the first 3 games just was not enough for me to go out on a limb and predict them to go to Happy Valley and come out with the W. And thank goodness I didn't, because, man, it was terrible. Utah State, LOL. Yep, that was the team, Utah State. Thank you. Kenny, because even that game was shite. Patrick Leons. There are high school teams who could have done better tonight. Shea Amos, message retracted. Michael Morin, I haven't been this frustrated in a while. Everyone on this team needs to do a mirror check. How can people keep on standing up for Brian? It is starting to get ridiculous. I agree. But what happens is there's a lot of Iowa fans who believe that Fandom is, no matter what, supporting whoever the coaches are, whoever the players are, no matter what's going on all the time, no matter what. And I don't buy into that philosophy, because although we are fans, we also put our money into the program, into the institution, and we have every right to voice our critiques of poor performance on the field. These coaches get paid way too much money of I don't live in Iowa, but of your tax-paying dollars to not put at least an average product on the field. So you guys have every right to critique and say it's bad, it's terrible, and the other aspect to it is that's the only way things get better. That's the only way things change. It can be a double-edged sword. I acknowledge that. You get situations like Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers, and some of these like SEC schools where their fandom is so great that sometimes they can be kind of overzealous about how good their program can actually be. But I don't think Iowa fans are that way. We just want an average, gosh darn offensive performance, and that's not too much to ask for. I tell you guys, I've had many, many fans over the course of the videos that I have made who, anytime I even provide the slightest critique of Iowa or Brian Ferentz or whatever, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter the logic behind it. It doesn't matter the facts behind it. It doesn't matter the stats I show. It's just not fair. It's not fair. And, I don't have time for that. I don't agree with it. I think it's nonsense. So I couldn't agree more. Message retracted. Tetloni. The game was a TV taco time. Iowa never recovered from that fumble. Just keeps on running to end screen again and again. It's just embarrassing. Bad. TTT Taco Time 37. We can still probably go 11-1 with a Citrus Bowl appearance, but the New York Six Bowl hopes are dead. Well, I thought, not necessarily. I mean, 11-1 is still a really good record. And if your one loss is to Penn State, that's not that bad, especially on the road. I thought that the college football playoff starting this year expanded to 12 teams or 8 teams or whatever. So I'm not saying, you never know, but and it is highly unlikely, especially the way the offense looks. But you're probably right. The Citrus Bowl probably is the best hope for Iowa to make. Maybe one of the bowl games that are not in the college football playoff, maybe. There's still a lot of football left to be played. A lot of football. And I agree. I mean, Iowa will be favored in almost all the games, minus Wisconsin, which who knows, maybe by the time that game rolls around, Iowa will be favored. But to tell you the truth, guys, based on what I've seen from the offense, I am thinking that this is going to be another 8-win season. I just really am, because I just see another situation where Iowa their offense comes up drastically short and they lose to some stupid team that they shouldn't lose to, that they're more talented than, they're better than, but their offense just totally craps the bed and it's done. So I'm more seeing an 8, maybe a 9-win season this year. And you guys know I'm one of the most optimistic of fans, and that's what I'm seeing so far. How good PSU is trash. We played like trash. It's still the offensive line. That is where it all starts. I'm about Kirk being right, if that's what it's about. Jackie Galvin, worst game I have ever seen ever from the Iowa Hawkeyes. I am not a Cade fan, but that offensive line is absolutely terrible. For heaven's sakes, get rid of Brian. Now, as far as the offensive line goes, that's George Barnett. And so as far as I'm concerned, both George and Brian's, should be on the chopping blocks. Because Iowa recruits just fine offensive line talent, but the last 3 years, George Barnett has not developed it. And no, Tyler Linderbaum does not count for George Barnett. Brandon Baker, quarterbacks do not improve under Iowa coaches. That's true. I agree. I agree. They're proven to regress. Brian Ferentz has to go. Absolutely no creativity with 100% predictability. There's one exception I have to that. I think that Ken O'Keefe did an okay job with quarterbacks. And I think Greg Davis did okay, better than what we're seeing from Brian. But for the most part, that's true, because, Nate Stanley was developed and he wasn't bad. CJ Beathard was developed. He wasn't bad. Jake Rudock went to Michigan. He wasn't, he did good. And while he was at Iowa, he was okay. It's basically been since Brian Ferentz has taken over the quarterback room and the OC, the quarterback position has been done. And I don't credit him for Nate Stanley. Nate Stanley's credit goes to the other coaches, not to Brian Ferentz. Okay, that's next year for the 8-year playoff. Thank you, Tatlani. Can we just agree that Penn State was just dominant, though? 97 plays is absolutely absurd. They could win the Big Ten this year. I agree. I said that. Penn State, I have them as my number 2 team in the Big Ten ahead of Michigan. I have Ohio State 1, Penn State 2. And, you can make the case Penn State's look better than Ohio State. I have no problem with that. This is definitely one of Penn State's best teams in a long time. Next season to 12. Mike Skatens, don't make excuses. You got completely dominated. This is a Penn State fan. Line of scrimmage, y'all got what you deserve for that pathetic beta male injury BS in 21. Minnesota PTSD 29-4 first downs is nuts. Like that's not a thing. Minnesota PTSD, Northern Iowa could go to Alabama and have more yards first downs than we did tonight. See, I just want to go back to the other comment though. This is why people cannot stand some of these. Now, I will say on the game preview I did for Iowa versus Penn State, most of the Penn State fans were very respectful. The most annoying fan base would probably be Michigan. The Penn State fan base was mostly respectful, mostly kind, and, they provided legitimate thoughts on the game. But it's like, come on, dude, be a better representative of your team. Win with class, sir. Win with class. Minnesota, Northern Iowa could go to Alabama and have more yards, first downs than we did tonight. So true. Throw that baby out with the bathwater, brah. Nick V, Iowa's so down bad, it hurts my soul. Agree, guys. So anyways, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. It was absolutely brutal. These types of games suck. I'm done with Brian Ferentz. I will not get back on the Brian Ferentz hype train unless Iowa has 4 or 5 games in a row of 30 plus points. And I'd be silly not to. It is the definition of this insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And what more do we need to see with Brian Ferentz and his offense? I'm not insane. I'm done with Brian. It's over. I think the best we can hope for the Iowa offense is for them to just be mediocre. And every now and again be able to run the football. I'm not sold on Cade McNamara. I think Iowa needs to provide a real look at Deacon Hill and look back at Joey Labus because Cade McNamara is not getting it done. And at this point, you could say that a lot of his success, it was perhaps due to the dominant roster that Michigan had. And when you have a team like Iowa has, where you have to do more as a quarterback, he just doesn't have it. So, the verdict is still out on Cade McNamara. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you guys are already subscribed. I thank all of you guys for being a part of this channel. The channel has grown immensely. You guys are the best fans in the world. And I love doing this. Even when Iowa loses, I love chatting with you guys and kind of therapeutically going through all of this. So thank you. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow on facts or feelings because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks.